Okay, so 2 o'clock, we've got almost 60 of you. Thanks ever so much for joining. So for those of you that haven't met me before, I'm Jez, so I look after L&D. So I'm going to run you through how to do an appraisal. I know you know how to do an appraisal, but this is showing you how our new form works. Honestly, it's really simple. I think by the time you finish this, you'll realize you could probably have done this without any training, but we just want to make sure, because history tells us that in ground control, we tend to launch things and then not tell you how to use them. And we didn't want to do that this time. So at the end of the session, I'll also put a PDF in the chat, which, just in case you want to refer to it, you can click through it and it pretty much tells you the same thing. I'm going to kick off. If you've got questions all the way through, you can either do old school and just wave at me and put your hand up. If I can't see you, then try your digital hands up. And if that fails, just unmute and shout like Baldy, I'm trying to get your attention and you're not answering, and I will respond.
So I'll keep my eye out in the chat box as well.
Cool, thanks, dude. So the reason we're doing this is because we want you to do this and we want you to be able to ace your perform and grow appraisals. So you know them as appraisals. We also call them perform and grow, and that is because when the new software comes in, which is Bob, which is our new HR platform, they call it perform and grow and appraisals, and it's just going to be confusing. Everybody should be getting this time with their manager. We really want people to see these as something they want to do rather than they're being forced to. It's a brilliant opportunity for you to talk about how people have performed, what achievements they've done, if they've got any growth or future plans, what are their new objectives. And the reason I've put their objectives and goals is because you will also see that in the new system, they get referred to as both. It means the same thing, but there are certain words we can't change in the system. So objectives and goals means the same. You'll also talk to them about the values, and that's all put in the system for you. And it's a brilliant opportunity for you to summarize what they've been up to in the last year, give them some recognitions and praise. And truly, I think if you do these well, they can be really motivational, because you spend time looking at what they've done, recognizing achievements, identifying all the ways they've done it, and then giving them a plan for the future. So to try and help you do that, we've created a lot of materials to support you. Again, this is me trying to learn from before I was here. Switching things on and not showing you doesn't seem to go too well. So what we've done this year is try and make sure we've given you as much as possible. So you'll get a digital version of this, and you'll see that in there we've got bite-sized support. So you've had a sneak peek there of the bite-sized guides that we've created. These are digital, really easy to use, and you can use them on every device. So all your team could be reading the one about how do I have a great appraisal with my manager. One of the questions that you will be asked on an appraisal is how can you grow and develop for the future? And to help that, we've created a bite size, as you can see there, the last one along, that answers all those questions and tells you all the things that you might be able to do in the future. So great one to share with your team so that they don't get to that section and then not know what to put. On top of that, just to make sure, some people don't want to read a guide. I'm probably one of those. I've got attention span of about 3 seconds. However, I can deal with videos. So we've also created a video for you, which is somebody talking you through how to use the system. And we've loaded that for you in 2 places. 1, it's on our GC University YouTube channel. And 2, we've popped it on GC Learning for you as well. So if anyone misses this, or you've got a team member that says, I don't know what to do, and you think their video is more their style, you can send them there and they can watch it. It takes about 5.5 minutes to watch. Tells them exactly what they need to do. So I'm going to take you through exactly what is coming up. I'm going to show it you in the order of which it would happen. So before you as a manager, or if you're a team member, gets it, you will have some stuff to do first. So I'm going to literally show you step by step what would happen. So the very first thing that happens is you and your team members are going to get an email from Bob. And Bob is going to say, welcome to the new performance review cycle. We need you to go off and do your self-review. We all have managers, so we'll all have to do one of these where you score yourself before your manager does it. Don't worry if you haven't had these emails yet. It's not right to have them yet. Bob is just finishing off being built, ready for us. So these will be coming out over the next week or so. So what you will see is as you read the email, there'll be a little box that says click here. And when you click there, it takes you directly into Bob and you're already logged in. So it's one of the huge benefits of Bob. No extra passwords or anything to remember. Just click the link in your email straight off into the system. So when you click that link, for the power of the internet, you'll be magicked off to the Bob homepage. And this is what it will look like. So you can see there that it's welcoming me and it's giving me a little wave to say that it's glad that I'm here. And this is what my page looks like. Ian Morehouse, great question. I can see you got your hands up. Can I help?
I'm one of the few who've had the sneak peek email. It doesn't the first time, you should say, or maybe you know, it doesn't bring you straight there the first time.
Oh, it does or it doesn't, Ian?
Does not. No, you have to. It asks you a couple of questions in the middle. Do you want to sign in with Microsoft Azure? And then it asks you some other personal questions along the way. So I think some of that you might want to just clarify, but I think some of that is to clarify what's in our HR database. And my only question, and you don't need to answer now, but I think we're saying that that's all confidential information that you're completing in there. It asks you things like your nationality. You know, I'm American, so I chose that as well as British, but you know, so might just be worth clarifying.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. What you've highlighted for me, which I didn't know, is that since we've done this training, they've obviously advanced and switched on a couple of extra features that they weren't going. There we go. Chloe is answering for me. So it looks like you will be asked to put in a little bit of information about yourself. That bit was planned. Ian and I have been practicing that for a couple of days now. As you can see, I styled it out and we managed perfectly. Brilliant. Well done, Neil. You were brilliant. Right. Okay, so when you have answered a few questions, you get to your homepage and it's confidential information. It will give you some tasks to do, which you can see there on the screen. So that is telling you that there is something for you to do, and you click on it. And when you click on it, it takes you here. So you can see there, it's telling me that, and I appreciate it says test, but we needed to do that with a test system. It's telling me that I've got an appraisal to do of my own. So the place you're looking for is there. It's saying Jez Light and it's telling me nice orange button, press start to get going. As soon as I press start, I jump straight in and it shows me there a little bit about what's going to happen. And I really urge you to read that stuff. It's so easy, a little bit like when you're signing up to Apple and we all just click that button and roll on. Have a little read of this because it really does explain what's coming up next. You'll see there as well, you know you're in the right place because it tells you that you're completing your own. So it's a little picture of you underneath your main one. So you can see here, I want you to read that information and then you scroll on. So the first thing before you do this is you need to understand that you will be being asked to do a rating scale. And the rating scale is slightly different than you've done before. So here it is. So there are 5 options. So when you are rating yourself, or if you're a manager and later on you're rating someone else, these are your options to choose from. So you have new to role, which speaks for itself. So this is in their first 6 months of the current role, or they're new to the business or have been promoted into a new role. Needs development, somebody who just doesn't consistently meet the standards. They might need a bit more direction and support. Meeting expectations, This is great. They're doing their job. They achieve the majority of the core requirements. They might need a little bit of extra help. And then as you jump to the top two, you've got exceeds expectations. This is that person that consistently achieves, exceeds, and delivers on the core requirements, and they don't really need any extra help. And then the final one that we've got there is they're setting a new standard. So these guys is somebody that is not only exceeding expectations, but they're almost leading the way, because what they're doing is so good, they're actually creating a new standard. So those are the 5 options that you'll have for rating this time around, and this will be in the guide for you as well. So as you can see, it's the very first question that it's asking me to do for myself is to rate myself against the objectives that I had last year. And you can see there you've got smiley faces, which simply dictate going from one side to the other. What you will do this year is, because our objectives from last year don't necessarily populate, you will give yourself an average. So if you think you smashed it out of the park on every objective, then you're going to go for the highest score. If you think that maybe there were 1 or 2 that you could have improved, you'll be able to bring down that scale. So you're looking for an average for the objectives that you had last year. And you can see here, it just gives you the option. It's telling you what you're doing. The next thing it does is say, okay, well, thank you, Jez. You've told me about your objectives, but now tell me about your delivery in your role. And a nice way of understanding this is kind of like how you do your day job. So it's exactly the same thing again. Do you think every single day I'm smashing it out the park? Or do you think you've got some areas to improve? And what you're doing is giving yourself your version of how you think you deliver in your day job every day. So when you finish with that section, you roll down. So you scroll down on the screen and it takes you to another one. So what you can see here, and I really love this, is it asks you to tell us something you're proud of. And I think when you do appraisals, you can sometimes skip over this real quick. And actually, I would like to think most of us have got stuff that we are genuinely proud of what we've achieved. So this is an opportunity for it not to be missed. It's free type, so they can type in whatever they want. And then the other bits that you have the opportunity to put on there will be how your performance has contributed to the business success. So let's say you win a tender and you work in business development. You effectively have helped bring in some success. You may have saved some money on a contract. You may have helped to do something fantastic that helped our customer service. So this is your opportunity to say, I'm really proud of myself for doing this. And I believe that what I did contributed to the business success in this way. So when you've done that, you continue your scroll down the screen. And this time it says, what about the values? So it asks you to consider the values that we have in our business, and it will show you those values. And it asks you to rate yourself on how you think you've performed against our values. What it also gives you the opportunity to do is give an example. So you can give an example around the value that you think you probably excelled in the most. And that means that we're really being able to see that the values are living, that people are living up to them. And it also gives us some real rich data on the ones that people are finding it most easy to connect with and perform against. So same thing again. What am I doing? Telling you you're rating through values. But then what are you asking me? Give me an example about how you've done it. So what I hope that you're seeing already is that Bob's really intuitive. And as you scroll down, it's telling you every step of the way what to do next. If you're ever not sure, you can scroll back up and scroll back down, and you're not messing around with it. You can effectively play with the system and understand where you are on the page at any time. So when you roll down again, it asks you that question I alluded to at the beginning about growth. And it asks you a really great question about where do you think you are right now? Am I fine in the role I'm in? Am I looking for a new challenge? Do I want a bit of stretch? Am I ready for my next role? And what this does is it helps us to look at the population of the business and go, we've got people in different pockets that are ready for different opportunities. So this one is for you to fill in personally. And when you do that, what I said that will then give our talent team really rich data along with who's looking for promotion, who needs more, etc. So it will then ask you a question about over the last year, if you've done any development, what was it and what was the impact on your performance? So a great example could be, I really was rubbish at Excel. I went on an Excel training course. I'm now able to do pivot tables. And I have great admiration for anybody who can do a pivot table. The other side of this could be, I went on one of last year's leadership programs, and what I have seen is my leadership capabilities. I think about emotional intelligence. Perhaps I'm demonstrating the skills I learned in a new way. It's an opportunity for us to kind of capture what's been going on. Plus, it's a great way for your manager to go, I hadn't thought about that. This is a sign that that person is developing. So yet again, it will always tell you where you are and what question that you're asking. The next one is asks you about what do you think you might want to do over the next 12 months. And that's where I said that the bite-sized guide we created could be really useful for you and your teams, because that gives you clear examples of what kind of things you could book in to help yourself grow over the next 12 months. Some of those things cost money, some of them are absolutely free, but it's a great opportunity for you to have a think about what's next. I think we're in a really strong position for this. So 18 months ago, we were quite limited on what we could offer the whole business. We now have a package that can develop pretty much anyone. There is something to give everybody a personal development plan. So moving on, you'll be scrolling down the screen again. You get to this place. Now there is a button, a big orange button, but I don't want you to press that button. So what I want you to do is save to draft, because if you submit at this point, you haven't yet done your goals. So just be mindful of that. It will be grayed out, but it's very easy to get confused at this point. So look for save to the draft. When you do that, it will then be time to do your goals. And remember from what I said at the start, goals and objectives are the same thing. They just happen to be called something different within our new system. So your goals and objectives, you need to have at least 3. And what these are your big things that you are working on over the next 12 months. Most of you will know this. You've had objectives before. Have a chat with your manager about them when you're putting them in. Make sure that they align with your department goals and the company goals. The company goals are always going to be the 4 headings that you can see here. So does it fall under we are gearing up for growth? Does what you have as your objective help drive performance or efficiency? Or is it's all about how we connect with our customers? Or actually, is it about how we embrace technology and innovation? And what will happen is as you put your goals in, the system cleverly prompts you and reminds you to pick which of the company goals it matches. What that allows Jason to do is at a touch of a button, look at how many people are doing stuff in his business under the heading of gearing for growth. So it's a really cool way for him to be able to see which of the 4 is getting focus. Now, I'm not going to labour the point on the next slide. So you will have heard about SMART goals before. I do appreciate that it is sometimes difficult to make every possible goal SMART. Sometimes they don't need that level of detail, but for your bigger ones, we're just asking you to remember to be specific so that it's not broad. Be measurable. So find a way that you can say, I said I would do this and therefore I've done it. Make sure it's achievable. Don't tell us you're going to save us £1 million in revenue and then come in with 100 grand. Somebody's going to be looking for that £900,000 deficit. If you do, make sure that it's relevant to your job and make sure you put a time limit on it. And you'll see when you do your goals, you can say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Last year for me, most of mine were a 12-month slog. It was I will get this done by the end of the year, but this business moves very quick, so it wasn't necessarily appropriate to put them into quarters. You will know best what works for you. So bear those in mind when you're doing your goals. So where do you find them on the system? So let's go back to that page that we talked about, and you will have clicked Save to Draft. Over here on your left-hand side, you will see it says Goals. And all you need to do is click on it. And the minute you click on Goals, it will open up and go, hold on a minute, Jez, you don't have any. And that's because I haven't done them yet. So I'll be like, okay, no worries. I'm going to click the button. And as soon as I do that, it takes me into the new goal page. So really intuitive, just get used to using the left-hand banner. So you can see here where the language gets duplicated. We talk about goals, but it does also say objectives. So we know that we're talking about the same thing. So it will ask you to put in what your new objective is. So it could be, I'm going to save the company £1,500 by changing to a different supplier. So that's where I put the title, probably something like cost saving. Here's where I'll put the detail. I'm going to find a new supplier and I'm going to make a saving for the company. And then what you'll see is it asks me here to give a bit more detail. Then it also says, well, okay, when are you going to be able to do this? And what it's asking you for is results as well. What do you think that will look like? And in that example, there should be a £1,500 saving. When you click again, it asks you to say which of the goals. Sue, I'm going to answer that question for you in just 1 second. You will then align to one of the company goals. So as we talked about, if it was gearing for growth, you pick that one. They're on a drop-down menu for you, dead easy to use. You click it, you simply select the one that you want. So Sue, you asked a question about the company goals. I'm just quickly going to look back at your chat. I just want to make sure I'm asking the same question. Is setting the goals to be done with your manager as we did previously. So my suggestion on that would be that chat to your manager and see how they wish to do it. So we're not saying you can't put them in. Your manager, as you will see as we carry on through this presentation, has an opportunity to look at them as well. So let's say you put in, I'm going to save the company £10,000. Your manager might look at it before he has the meeting with you and go, I think that's a little bit extravagant. I'm going to reduce that, and you can talk about it in the meeting together. So then you do come back to this page, and this is where I do really want you to press the submit button. And the reason for this is because you've now done as an individual everything you need to do. If you press submit at this point, this is where the magic happens. It gets sent off to your manager and says, this person has done their part. Now it's your turn. So that is as simple as it is for an individual to do their part of here. Sue, great. I can see you had the question. Yes, you can edit them as you go along. One of the benefits of Bob is that you can just go in and edit all the time. It is more than just an appraisal system, but we're just giving you the sneak peek of appraisals early. But Bob is going to be something that becomes quite central to all of us because it holds all your data. So when you press submit, it whizzes off over to your manager, and your manager then receives and reviews it. They might not make any comments at this point, but they're able to. Then what your manager should do is book in a meeting with you to say, let's talk about this together and let's discuss. And that is your appraisal. So I can see some of you've asked questions as we've gone along, and that's brilliant. Thank you for doing that. Are there any questions now before I move over to what would happen if you're a manager doing appraisals for someone else? Just checking nobody's typing.
Sorry, Jez, just on the objectives that were set for last year, do we can we actually see those as we're going through?
So you can't see the goals from last year. I believe that next year you will be able to, because they will have been submitted in this system. I think you may remember that a little while back, Chloe communicated out to the business and asked people to go in and download their objectives from Perform, I think it was called. Chloe, do you want to just answer that one?
Yeah, so the you cannot access your old goals in the new system. So we haven't put them all in because we didn't want to make a mess of the new goal system before we even started, because lots of things change over the year. And if HR put them in, they're a little bit harder to edit. So we're relying on anything that you put in last year that is completed. You can just discuss with your manager and rate in the way that just showed you. Anything which is ongoing, which is still isn't completed, you can add in as a goal, and anything new you can add in as a goal. And the goal system is ongoing from this point forward. So you'll always be able to access that through one-to-ones and then next appraisals and so on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chloe. Jessica, are we requesting 360 feedback? No, we're not doing that this year. It isn't built into the system. It could be at a later date, but it's not on this round. And Natalie, oh, sorry, and Neil's answered for me. Yes, you can go in and edit at any time. That's brilliant. I didn't even need to speak. Simon, I could just see you popped your hand up. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Certainly. For those of us that have been a little bit tardy like me, can we still access Perform to get our actual copies of our objectives?
The answer is maybe. I actually haven't checked it this week, today. We technically lost access about 2 weeks ago, but I know that it was still working the last time I checked, so I would go in quickly and see if it is. If not, I do have a copy of all of them if you email me, but
thank you.
Please don't do that unless you need to.
Someone sent me their appraisals from last year this morning, so I think it is still working at the moment.
Okay, then my suggestion would probably be get in quick and have a look. So let me just finish these slides. If you have asked a question, I haven't seen it, I'll check it at the end. So if you are a manager, we would advise the best way for you to do this is do it and review it in the meeting with them. But alternatively, you can go in before and you can save as draft, just like I showed you. So let's pretend now, and I'm afraid you're going to have to assume that I've now swapped roles and I am now back to being a manager for the purpose of the test. I'm going to get an email that says, Jez, you've got people waiting. They've done their bit. Now you do your bit. So I'll click that orange button again and it will take me through. So this time what it's saying to me is that you've got actions, but you can see here that rather than being around me doing my own, it's talking about me doing it for someone else. So I can click that button and it opens it up. Now,
Jez,
what
you aren't
this...
showing your screen, by the way.
Chloe, can you see my screen?
I'm showing delivery.
Yeah, I can see it.
Mark's
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'll have to check my side then, thanks.
It's okay, no worries. But I'll attach a guide at the end as well, and you can chat to me afterwards if you need to. So exactly the same process that you saw before, you're just replicating it. So as an example, I've rated myself as top of the pops. I've worked incredibly hard and I've smashed all my objectives. My manager might look at that and go, I don't agree. I think actually it's more of a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5 out of 5. So this is where you get to give your view on what they have said about themselves. So it tells you what you're doing and you put the score. Same thing. This is about employees, not yourself. Exactly the same question. Somebody rates themselves against their role. It's about employees. You say where you think they are. If you match, absolutely brilliant. If they don't, that's what you would discuss when you're in your appraisal. It asks about the values again, tells you what you're doing. It will show you what they scored. and you will be able to put your rating. It will also say their examples. It will tell you what examples they put, and you can put examples in if you want to as well. So growth, here it will show you what they have said they would like to do in the future. And this is a great opportunity for you and them to discuss what the future looks like for them. And then you are literally almost done. So at this point, you have two options. You can see save to draft, and then you can see submit and share above. So if you press submit, what that does is it submits to the Bob system, but it doesn't show your employee a copy of what you've done until the end of the cycle. What that means is however long we've set for appraisals to happen. Your other option, which I would urge you to do because I think it's quite a nice transparent behavior, is submit and share, which means you submit it and your employee gets a copy straight away of what you did because you've been sat there doing it together anyway. If, for example, let's just say Rich McHale is doing mine and he isn't quite ready. He thinks he just wants to do a bit of research. He wants to go back and look at something. What he can do is the save to draft button again. It doesn't go anywhere. You don't lose all your work, and he can just come back in and pick this up at another time. So final, no problem. So then the final process is literally repeat for each team member. You obviously know how many people you've got, so you know how much time to try and allow for your appraisals. I wouldn't book them back to back. It doesn't give you any thinking time or time to make any notes. And that's it. So I hope what I've showed you is that it is quite a simple process. It's very intuitive, but it does prompt you all the way through. Was there any questions that I have missed?
Yeah, there was one from Scott asking when will the process be going live and what's the timetable?
And that's a wonderful question that Chloe will answer.
So next week you will get at the very least the Bob onboarding, and hopefully the next week or really the following week you'll get the access to the appraisal. So that's two different things. The Bob onboarding is just getting you onto the system and you filling out those details that Ian mentioned, which is about a dozen fields for you to either check or complete, about just a bit about you, and then you'll get the link to the appraisal separately.
Okay, and then I can see there was Samantha asked, with the do I complete in the same way as you've demonstrated? Absolutely. So Neil, as an example, works for me. He won't have been here 6 months, but I still want to know what he's done. I still want that valuable conversation. I still want to recognize all his hard work. So just complete it as normal. So I am just going to grab you the attachment so that I can put it in the chat for you. Got it. Okay, so for anybody who wants it, there's the guide is going into the chat for you right now. Okay, well it was. No, it's not going to. So what I will do is put it in the chat as soon as this is finished rather than hang up and get you to bear with me while Teams doesn't play. Any questions that I haven't answered? Deadlines for appraisals once live. I believe it's end of May. Is that right, Chloe?
So it's 42 days, 6 weeks from when we go live. So hopefully that will be near the end of May, but I don't guarantee it will be exactly
very specific. 42 days. Clayton, you've got a question as well.
Yeah, just a quick one, Jez. Is there plans to tie this in with the Remco piece as well? Because obviously everyone writes up a bit about themselves on Remco. Is there maybe a joint effort that can happen in the future?
I know Chloe will have the answer to that one.
So the answer is potentially. So this year, for a couple of reasons, we couldn't line it up. We needed the Remco information first. Next year, we might do it earlier, but the problem with when bonuses are at the moment, we need the bonus information too far before year end to do the two together, if that makes sense. So you'd have to be writing about yourself in advance anyway, but we might be able to then feed that into the appraisal somehow. So we'll do the bonus system through Remco, and we can potentially then feed what you write in that through into your appraisal rather than the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Chloe.
Okay, so apologies, I've overrun by 4 minutes, so if I have lost anybody, my bad. I will put the document in the chat. Because you've been in this group, you will see it. And then we're also going to put this video on our YouTube Ground Control University YouTube channel. And we'll put the link in here as well, so you can share it with your team if you need to. And that's it. So if anyone has got any final questions, please shout now. If not, then I'm going to let you disappear.
Yeah, there's another one in the chat. If we submitted an employee performance review last week, will we still need to do the same via Bob?
I've had a few people ask me this, and it's to do with that's the Remco thing, and that's a separate thing. Right. So if you've done the Google Forms, or it just asks you to write about yourself, that's not your appraisal. So you do need to do this again as well. Okay,
cool. Thank you, Chloe. Okay, brilliant. Right, I will let you go. And if you do have any questions, if it's system-based, Chloe is your main point of contact. But if it's about how do I do my appraisal and I'm a bit stuck, then please come back to training and we'll help you.